Hey, hello everyone. Hope you're all doing well this week. Tomorrow's Friday, so things are looking up. It's been about, I don't know, a week or so since I've done a video, so I figured I would check in. I was up there hanging out with my brother. He was watching TV, and one of these commercials came on, so I figured, you know, it just struck me when I saw this. It was an advertisement for like a TV show, like a reality TV show, I guess you would call it. And it was just amazing, the amount of just unholy like sexual attraction and sexualizing the body and just immoral behavior, just the way it seemed. It just seems so off-putting. So I figured I should make a video about it. Sometimes like I don't want to make videos all the time if I don't have something to say, but every now and then I'll be watching TV or looking online and something will just catch me and I'll be like, oh, I gotta make a video about this. So it just kind of epitomizes like everything that's wrong with society as far as like sexualization goes and male and female interactions and the family and things like that, and just debased society basically. So we'll take a look at it here. Let me bring it over. Try to be as positive as I can. I think that's that. So let's just roll in here. Let me preface this though. These folks that I'm going to put up here, I don't know these people. I don't know if they're actors or how this works, where they get these reality folks from. I'm not sure. So I don't know them personally. God does know them personally, knows every single thing about them, every thought they've ever had, every thought they're going to have, every action they've taken, every action they're going to take. So God knows all of that stuff. I don't. So I have to make, my position based on what I'm seeing. I can't see inside their brain. I can't read their minds, right? So I'll just give you my opinion of what I think God thinks based on what I'm seeing, based on what they're showing me. So let's just roll in. I think we got that video on, so let's go ahead. This should work. I will say it's interesting they roll in with the fire, though. It's weird.
I've never met a better person than Caitlin, but I've just always known deep inside that she is not the one for me. That's it, plain and simple. I just want to make everybody around me happy.
Okay, first off, let's look at this, right? Like we've talked about how God loves humility and humble people and modest dress and things like that. And if you can look at these outfits here, most of these are not even close. This fella right here, I mean, a lot of these fellas look like they're in the gym. They're pumping the iron. They're working hard. I like the gym. God, for whatever reason, decided to give me a bad back so that I can't go in there and crush it like I really want to. And I'm almost positive that has to do with pride and ego, to make sure that I kind of, don't go over the top, right? I'm supposed to be helping people out with pride and ego, so it's probably not the best thing I'm in there, trying to get jacked up at the gym, which I enjoy. I love running. I'm actually putting on a few pounds now because I'm not in there jogging, but I went and talked to the back doctor. Got some kind of piriformis nerve or whatever, some kind of syndrome. It's impacting my sciatic nerve, so it's kind of like in my hip. Basically, my hip is, if I try to work out too hard or I'm pumping too much iron and getting too big, and it seems like somehow that hip is attached to my ego, however that works. So whenever I start to try to look like these fellas here, my hip just goes out of control, which it kind of stinks because now I'm having to throttle back. I can't, he said not to do anything basically. He's got me on steroids. Not for working out, just, for my back. So he's got me on those. They seem to be working. Said I can't really do anything physical for 30 days. I just got to take it easy. Hopefully that nerve calms down. And then I'll see if I can kind of get back into the volunteering and just do it lightly. And, obviously I'm going to have to stay out of the gym, it looks like. So probably not going to look like these fellas anytime soon. We'll see if maybe they'll let me work out, but it's not looking like it because pride, ego, things like that, modesty, humility. I guess this is not how you get there. So I'll go ahead and comment. You look at these fellas here. This guy's shirt is flown open like this, got this super V-neck going on, kind of like, I guess, gaudy jewelry, you would say. Like I said, I don't know this guy personally. Any of these people, I don't know them. I don't know what's in their mind or their heart. I don't know what kind of relationship they have with God. That's between them and God. I don't know. I'm just a human being sitting here talking to you on this, camera. So, but I have a pretty good idea how God thinks. So I would guess that the necklaces, maybe too much. I don't know. I don't want to nitpick too much on this stuff. People have individual style. I get that. So do I, right? Things that I've gotten like prior to understanding everything, like luxury items, things like that. So I get it. You know, the shirt's real tight, obviously showing off the muscles. This shirt, maybe people say this is too tight. I got these on Amazon because they don't have any labels on them. I'm trying to get away from the labels to try to get this clothing industry under control so we can save the planet. But I ordered these online. They call this a large. This is actually feels like a medium to me. So I was trying to get something baggier, and the ones with the collars are baggier. I like those better. This one's a little tighter than I would have liked, so that's my bad. But I'll know next time. You got to get an extra large with those Amazon shirts, the ones with no labels. Trying to get away from the labels there. But this shirt's quite tight. Necklaces. Is that too much? I don't know. Maybe. Gold watch, obviously luxury items. God's not a fan of gold, diamonds, any kind of, what do you call it, like haughty jewelry, like very over the top. Doesn't like that. Other than that, we'll move on to this fella here. He's got the gold watch on, luxury items, gold around the neck, more necklaces, got some tattoos there. God's not a fan of tattoos, body piercings, things like that. Very conservative, actually. Quite conservative. Obviously, these folks are all in the gym, right? They're trying to get on TV. They're trying to be famous, which people can covet, right? Fame and money and things like that. Like I said, don't know him personally. I'm just commenting on what I see. This fella up here, this is better. He's got like the little, I don't know what you call it, like a cami, like a girl would wear under here. He's kind of covering some things up so I don't have to look at his chest hair. And he's not enticing people as much, although his ginormous arms probably are. But they're all like that, right? They're all working out hard. Worried about this. They're worried about this. How this looks, because it pumps up their ego, which is going to get their pride up to an unhealthy level, which God doesn't like. God likes humility. He wants us to be humble, and he wants us to be modest. Like, in God's eyes, like people that are humble and modest and help people and help others and have a relationship, those are people that God loves. Right? Those are the kind of folks God is looking. I don't want to say he. I know I said it a lot, but that's the kind of people God is looking for. Right? Humility and modesty. Those are huge. Those are core for your kind of like your holy currency, your godly currency. That's what is expected of us. Right? Maybe that's why I ended up with this hip. Right? I was hitting it too hard in the gym, just trying to look nice. Just trying to stay healthy. That's all. I'm trying to take care of my temple. Right? We should take care of our temple. This is our gift from God, so we should take care of it. That's what I was trying to do, but maybe I took it too far. I don't know. But this hip's definitely bothering me, but the steroids are working. I feel better, so I'm just going to follow the doctor's advice and do nothing for 30 days, which will give me more time to do videos. And I'm getting a lot more Bible reading in, so I guess that actually worked out. So it is what it is. But this is better, right? Not as much necklace on there. I got a few little things here. The watch looks a little more subtle. This is better, I think. I don't want to nitpick too much. This guy looks pretty great over here. His shirt's a little baggier, right? He's not showing off his muscles. He's not trying to project like muscular pride and like manly pride and things like that. Yeah, this looks pretty good, I guess. Looks like he's married there. I don't know how this Temptation Island. I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever even watched this. That's why maybe I was so taken aback by when this trailer came on. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this is society, but this is it. This is what people watch, and I'm guessing there's more than like 10 people that watch this show. There's probably like millions of people that sit around watching this, getting programmed, like these fellas here. But like I said, it's kind of strange the way it works. Like, this is way over the top. I think that's way over the top. This is much better, and this looks pretty good. The pants are a little tight, but it's TV. Who knows? They might tell these people how to dress. I don't know. But we'll move along. I don't want to stay here too long. I think those are all the points. Yeah, humility, humble, modesty. Not really what I'm seeing up here for at least a few of these folks. This guy looks a little closer. So let's keep it moving. Try not to make this too long for you.
And you're helping me figure that out. I needed this so bad.
I'm happy that you've had this epiphany. It's why you're here. Why do you think you needed this to get to the truth when you couldn't just say it there at home?
I didn't know how to say it at home.
How much you had a chance to look at the former way of being, which is pleasing other people, because the truth about that is that it's not entirely honest all the time.
I think that's
an interesting point. So trying to please everyone, say nice things, things that people probably want to hear. I think you can't make everyone happy. It's impossible because we have free will. You have free will. You are free to be a great person, a godly person. You are free to be someone in the middle. You kind of tiptoe in both, the white and the black. Or you can go completely on the other side. And you can be with God or you can be with the other one. That's your choice. Both of those choices have consequences. Same for the people along the entire spectrum, right? This whole system's built. You make choices, godly decisions, the other one's decisions, somewhere in the middle, all along that spectrum. And every decision you make, depending on where you make it, it's almost like a role-playing game. And every decision you make will have consequences. It all branches off into various areas based on your decisions, our decisions, my decisions, right? So that's how it works. So you can do what you're supposed to do, which is what God wants, or you can do what the other one wants you to do, which is to totally disregard God and His commandments and His wishes for you and just do whatever you want. It would basically be like being an unruly, rebellious child and doing whatever you want, even though your parent, hopefully, if they're a good parent, they want to protect you, right? They want to keep you from harm. So they don't let you sit around and, when you're like 6 years old, they don't let you sit around and do cocaine and eat all the Snicker bars you want and, run around and have sex or whatever, whatever horrible things that you shouldn't be doing. Like, your parents are supposed to protect you. That's their job. They're supposed to say, no, don't eat that candy. Don't run around with the knife. You're going to hurt someone. Whatever horrible thing you could think of, like, you protect your children. I've been out of the child game for a while. I got started early, so I haven't raised a child here in a hot minute. But parents out there, you understand. There's things you don't want your children to do, right? So you guide them and you teach them, even though they don't want to hear it. They get mad, they scream, they throw temper tantrums. They don't want to hear it. But you give them the information they need because they need it. They'll need it down the road. They may not know it now, but they'll realize it later that they really, really needed that information. So I guess that's what he's getting to, is that you can't make everyone happy, right? Let me make sure. I just want to go back here and make sure I got this right.
It's not entirely honest all the time.
Because it's not entirely honest all the time. Right. So even though it may not be what they want to hear, you should be honest with people. That's just the best thing. Try to be as polite as possible. What are these things like?
That's the next step for me.
The practice might be, how honest can you be at all times? Still loving, but honest.
Right. That's a great point. Like, still loving. You want to present the information. You want to be as kind as possible. But you also don't want to walk people over like a pitfall. That you know what's going to happen when they go in the pitfall. And you know what happens. You know what could potentially happen depending on where you are on that spectrum, how bad you were, how good you were. It's kind of like a role-playing game. There's consequences, right? Your decisions are your decisions. You have free will. You can take God's directions that God is giving you that will make sure you have an awesome eternity. You'll be extremely happy. Or you can disregard everything God tells you, right? All the folks He sends down to talk to you. You can disregard those people and say they're crazy and they don't know what they're talking about. They're idiots. Who are these people? Who do they think they are? And you can go follow the other one that's all about chaos and doing whatever you want and being happy and having sex with whoever you want and doing all the drugs you want and cursing and yelling at God, not believing in God, thinking that science is the answer to everything and science will explain everything and there can't be a God because bad things happen, blah, 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 blah. So you can follow that, and there are going to be consequences for that. Because God has been quite clear, shown up before, showing up again, giving you the information. So please take that for what it is. But He's got a good point. You should be honest also. You want to tell people everything they want to hear, but that's not really being honest, right? Free will actions that you make and that I make, they have consequences for all of us. That's how it's designed. Your souls are eternal. You're not going to be in these bodies, those particular bodies, those vessels. You're not going to be in those forever. And what happens to you next is completely dependent on what you're doing today and every other day for the rest of your life, as long as you're here. So you definitely want to take God's direction because God loves you, because God created all of us. And God would love to be in communion with us and hang out with us and live lives with us. And we talk to him from time to time. All the time, actually. And you can do that either audibly or you can do it in your head. They both work. It doesn't matter. There's nothing hidden. I have conversations all the time with God in my head. And I see the reactions in the world. So say it, don't say it out loud, whatever you're most comfortable with. Just have a conversation. That's it. But let's keep it moving. I don't want this to drag on too long. But yeah, be loving but honest. That's a valid point.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm done. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark.
I'll check in with you soon. All right, take care. Take care.
I'm so relieved. The truth has now come out.
You see how like this super V-neck he's got going on, the chest puffed out, kind of peacocking, I guess you would call that. That's pride. That's your ego. This fellow on the right anyway, right? Looks like he just busted out of like a Miami Vice episode. And then this other fellow over here, I don't critique every little piece of dress. It's not that serious. I think you can tell just by looking at it who's peacocking, who's prideful. Like if I told you like A or B, like pick one, like who's prideful, who's got the ego. And I'm not saying because he's looking down or anything, but just look at his outfit, right? I mean, it's like neither one of them have a ton of labels on. You got the gold chain here. You're sporting all the luxury items. This is definitely not as tight fitting. Maybe he's not in the gym as much. It's really hard to tell because he's not wearing the skin tight clothing. But like I said, to me, like just an outsider looking in, seems like a little bit more of a humble person than the person over here peacocking with the chest out and the super V-neck and the chains and everything. I'm pretty sure I can guess which one God would prefer or God would like to see us dress and, resemble of these two examples here.
This makes me feel like a new man.
Again with the fire. It's interesting, isn't it?
Ready? Let's go, girls.
Oh boy. So you can already see a few of the issues here.
It's our world.
I'm nervous.
It's not really their world. They're in it. It's not our world. It's God's world, but it was made for us. So yeah, I guess in that respect it is our world. But yeah, these outfits here, I don't think I need to say too much. This is absolutely out of control. Unholy. This is I gotta be careful about what I say, but it looks like the attire of someone that works in certain professions. Everything is way too much leg going on here. This is advertising your body as a sexual object. If this person was like, hey, and proposition me, I would probably be like, okay, I get it, because I see the way, and I know this sounds crazy because this is our culture, and our minds have been corrupted by our culture here that we've created, or that has been created by other influences, and we think this is normal. We think this is absolutely normal, that her chest is falling out of her shirt. Clearly, she wants you to look at one thing here. Everything is skin tight. This one, some of this outfit is okay. This super V-neck here with her boobs just hanging out completely out of line. Same thing over here. All of them. These are all terrible. There's really not a good example here to look at. I've got a daughter. I absolutely would never want to see her dressed like this. I even have problems with my fiance just because obviously I think a lot differently now. This world that I live in now doesn't really feel like my home, 100%. So I see things very, very differently. And now this place is it's really, really messed up. I have a really good idea what God's expectation for us is. This is not it. This is absolutely not it. So, we're supposed to be dressing with modesty, and you're supposed to be humble, just like God is humble. You would think like God, like all that power that God has, you would think just be up there just wrecking stuff all the time and just doing whatever, right? But it's not. God's actually very humble and modest, and that's the expectation for his children, if you will. pardon the his thing. Yeah, let's just keep moving here.
To see what Hall's been doing. I do trust him, but you never know. My biggest fear is seeing him like being unfaithful or continuing his relationship with the girl that I saw before.
Well, late.
Okay. So here are the outfits, right? What are they accentuating? All the body parts that are designed to be shared in a loving marriage are basically just here on display. This dress was kind of closest to being okay just because of the length. Obviously, just throwing the leg out here. If there's any guy standing in front that's been programmed by this culture, I assure you their eyes are going to gravitate. Absolutely. They won't even be able to help it. They'll go straight down to whatever body part you want to think about. Because you're wearing almost nothing here. This is all low cut. This is all design. All these girls are basically saying, I want you to stare at my boobs and my butt and my legs or my, I guess, face, like once you get around to it. But essentially just, I want you to look at my body as just this vessel. Not the soul that's inside it, not the eternal soul, not the one that God created that's in that vessel. I just want you to look at just the wallpaper and the facing. That's it. And that's what they're marketing. Their body as a sexual object, which is why you're just showing off your boobs, your butt, and your face and legs. Like, look at this. I mean, this is everything that's wrong with our society. Not to even mention, look at the name of the show. It's Temptation Island. I don't know. I'm not sure what this show is about, to be honest, because I've never watched it. But I'm assuming they go on here and tempt other people, or I don't even know if these people are couples or singles. I'm not sure how this works. I guess they're couples and they get tempted by, like, that's a disgusting concept. If that's true. Like I said, I don't really know the show. But if these people come on as couples and like you try to break them up, that's disgusting. You're going to break up family structures which are there, which is why God loves marriage, because the family is supposed to stay together so that you can raise your children properly so they don't grow up and just fill up prisons and be horrible people and end up in bad situations spiritually and physically. So, yeah, this show is rough. But this is our society. This is where we are. This is what happens, when people forget about God and God's principles. This is what happens. And 43 years, I had no idea. So I totally get it. I'm not just throwing stones as someone who has not lived this life and looked at those girls exactly how everyone else did for the vast majority of my life. So I just always like to put that out there. Too much stomach, too much everything. And be careful with the lavish belongings. We've spoken about that. All right, let's keep moving here before this gets too long.
Welcome to another bonfire. How you feeling?
I'm feeling better.
Nervous.
Nervous.
Good.
I understand you being nervous. Bonfire is a place where we confront stuff. It's a place where you get a glimpse into what's going on the other side of the island. I'm wondering how you're feeling ever since we added that temptation light. Did it come on?
It came
on. Okay.
So this show has a temptation light. So they're glorifying the fact that you're being tempted to sin. We have made a reality show where people come on, females come on, probably males too, right? Males and females. They come on because they want to be famous, they want to make money, and they're going to glorify being tempted to sin on national television in front of everyone they know so that they can become famous and make money. Money which corrupts many, many people here. If you want to know what Temptation Island looks like, welcome. You're here. You're all on Temptation Island. We are all here. And we are all going to be tempted. And we all have free will. And we're going to make a decision on this side of the spectrum, which is where you want to be, or this side of the spectrum, where you absolutely should not be, and anywhere in the middle. So if you want to know what Temptation Island looks like, it looks like this. And you can choose to be a godly and holy person, and you can have great rewards from that. I'm not saying that those rewards are going to be $1 billion in your bank account, because it would probably ruin you. But you will have godly rewards, you will be in God's good graces, and trust me, you will be absolutely fine. In the long run, and the run is very, very long, it's eternal. It's something that our brains can't even really comprehend. If you try to sit down and think about eternity, forever. Like, just try to sit down and think about, like, how long would that be? It's not next year. It's not 10 years from now. It's not 100 years from now. It's not a billion years from now. It's not a trillion years from now. It's literally forever. Eternity. Eternal. In a vessel of some sort. Spiritual, physical, depends on decisions that you make. So, just keep that in mind. That's all. All right. Let's keep it moving.
Caitlin, we're starting with you tonight. You good? Here we go.
It's been 8 years.
Okay. Back in the day, I would have literally never even seen this. And now I look at it and I'm like, that is just a naked girl sitting on the couch trying to be famous, making money on this show. And this fellow who's wearing a that's an okay outfit. I don't really see anything wrong with that. Like, it seems fine, and the ring's a little big, but I don't want to sit here and nitpick every little thing. But what she's wearing is absolutely out of line. Look at that. And maybe you could say, like, if they're a married couple and they're sitting on the couch by themselves, what? Fine, married couples, like, you're married. You're going to be together forever. You're going to raise your kids. You're going to be great. You're going to be great role models. You're going to make this place awesome. You're going to have a relationship with God and try to bring other people in and save them too. So if this is a married couple sitting at home, you know what? I wouldn't be talking about it because I wouldn't know about it. God would know about it. Who cares, right? But the difference is you're sitting on national television in front of the world wearing nothing. Sitting there and you're enticing people that are watching the show, right? So you're going to cause them to sin. Because who knows what they're doing behind their television screens and their computer screens. I don't want to speculate, but I'm sure it happens. She's wearing nothing on national television because she wants to be famous. She wants to make money, right? I'm sure her pride and her ego are probably elevated if I had to guess.
I've always known something was missing the entire time. I just didn't know what it was until I got.
And I think that's a tattoo on her right arm. God doesn't want us to do things like that with our body. I never would have picked up on that either, prior to kind of figuring things out. So, kind of go back to the Bible, and yeah, it's in there. So it's a thing. I got that one validated. So.
Here, starting to realize maybe I'll.
And to be quite honest, just personally speaking, had I gotten tattoos when I was growing up, I've changed so much over the years. If I'd gotten tattoos when I was like 18, 20, 25, 30, 35, whatever, pick any like 5 years of my life, had I gotten tattoos or any like piercings or things like big globes, over here, like things I couldn't undo later, I would be so unhappy because the stupid stuff I would have on my body from when I was 18 years old or 20 or 25 or 30, they would be so counter to who I am today. No tattoo I would have would represent, unless I got it in like the last year, which obviously I wouldn't have because of what I figured out. But anything I would have had tattooed on my body, I would have regretted it now, especially now. But even, not knowing that, I would have grown out of whatever I was doing at that time and put that on my body, right? Whatever that represented at that time period. And I've heard people say, I've got friends that I grew up with, like, oh, I love it. It takes me back to that point in time. That's fine. I can go back through a picture album. I can listen to music and it'll take me back in time. I don't need that, like, scarring my skin up, like putting pictures all over my skin. God has an issue with it, so take it up with God. I'm just letting you know.
Those years with Caitlin, I've hid the truth from myself. Maybe our 8 years led me here to finally figure out what I want, what I need.
That's a good point. What you want and what you need sometimes can be two very different things. There have been many things in my life that I've wanted really badly. And then it turns out those weren't the things I needed, right? I wanted them. I really, really wanted them. but they weren't what I needed. So that's where our understanding and God's understanding are completely different. And it's not fair because God knows everything. And we only are given this finite amount of information, this finite lifetime in this vessel. So it's really not fair, and God understands that, which is why God is so forgiving. Because we're not working with the same intelligence level of God, and we never will be. So.
Okay. He broke up with me already. Like, why come back to me? Why propose to me?
And the cursing and the language, yeah. I've struggled with that. I've gotten really, really good about it, though. I'm getting much better. I've almost got it completely nixed. So if you haven't, definitely work on that. That's a tough one, and it's a cultural thing, especially in certain occupations.
That's an honest and fair thing to say. How were you different when you were broken up?
I mean, I feel like I'm more social, more fun, more outgoing. Like,
The earrings seem like a bit much to me. I don't want to nitpick too much on that stuff.
just wearing on my own damn self. So.
I'd like to see her. There is no rule that says you've got to appease everybody else who's got input into your life.
That's true. The only person you really should appease is God. That's it. And God will deliver that information. God has delivered it before. God is delivering the information now. That's really the one entity in your life that you should really keep happy. Not because he's up there like waiting to strike us down, but because he's giving us the answers to the test. All right? And we're going to go on, you, me, everyone, we're going to go on for eternity. So this is a long, long ride. And all of your decisions can branch off into different results, right? One little decision, you think, oh, this is just one little decision. I'm just going to do this one thing. Yeah, but that branches off into different areas, and those branch off. There's like I can't even understand it. Like, it just branches off. There's so many, it would just branch out and go forever, right? The different possibilities that are there based on the decisions you make within that spectrum. God, the other one, right? God, sin, anywhere on that spectrum, and then those decisions and how they branch out into other decisions and other decisions, and it just keeps going forever. And the results can get really great or really horrible, depending on your free will decisions that you make based on the guidance that God is giving all of us. So if you want to, I know people are going to have input in your life, but I'm just saying you should probably listen to God and God's representatives, because God just wants to help you. God doesn't want to see you suffer. God didn't create us to sit there and watch us suffer. That was not the intent. God is on our team.
Enough?
And against the other team.
Paris, you're a little nervous, huh?
I want to see it.
Okay. And let's look together and we'll talk it out together. You're not alone in this. Here we go.
After everything that happened last night, I decided.
Okay. Obviously, I know he's in the gym. I know this is our temple. I know he wants to work on it. And maybe he's just naturally gifted and he was just always born like this. But you're on national TV with your shirt ripped off for whatever reason. Marketing, I guess. You could at least put a shirt on. I mean, right? You're going to cause other people to sin, right? Who knows what they're doing at their house or wherever they are watching this. It's nice to be in good shape, but you do have to watch the ego and the pride. And this, yeah, that's out of bounds. So at least put a shirt on and try not to accentuate all this stuff, because you're just going to cause other people to lust, and that's a sin. So you shouldn't be causing other people to fail. Even though you're in good shape, that's great. No problem with that. Take care of your temple. Just don't make other people trip, as you're standing up there showing off what you've worked on.
And I'm just gonna start the day with the mindset that I'm single and actually not hold back and worry about Paris this time. It's just a new me now. It's gonna be a fun day.
Okay. So this is what we put on television. This show, USA, I'm assuming children have access to watch this, right? It's on TV. They could walk by in Best Buy or anywhere else where they have put television on and they could see this. So in this society, in this world that we live in, that we have created via our free will decisions and our culture that we have created, this is acceptable. So look at this, right? Are you okay with children looking at this? I don't want to see this on any like street corner, any festival, anything. God doesn't want to see this. This is complete just debauchery. This looks like some kind of Canaanite orgy, right? Or something that they would have done in temples very long ago. And I have that pulled up actually. Yeah. I highlighted a few things here. We'll touch on this. I won't stay here too long because this might get a bit morbid, but got to be more truthful, right? I'll just go over the highlighted parts. What we do know reveals, so fertility cults of Canaan, right? Canaan reveals dark seductive practices that continue to entice the people God had chosen to be his witnesses, right? We can all be witnesses now, right? Everyone's going to see everything that happens. We're all part of this. So God spoke to his people on Mount Sinai and reestablished his covenant with them in the Ten Commandments. Extremely important right back here. Those are great tenets to follow. And there's many others. Got the 7 deadly sins. There's many others in there that you can go through. I put some up on social media, and I'll continue to do that. I don't have an exhaustive list, and probably wouldn't be able to fit it on the wall anyway. Lord accompanied them, protected them, fed them, and guided them to the promised land. There was no doubt that Yahweh was God of the wilderness. That's correct. Whatever name you would like to use. God is the easiest one. Yahweh, Adonai, there's many others. Yahweh or Baal. The land was fertile beyond anything the Hebrew nomads had ever seen. The Canaanites attributed this fertility to their god Baal. And that is where the Israelites' problems began. An intense battle began for the minds and the hearts of God's people. The book of Judges records the ongoing struggle, the Israelites' attraction to and worship of the Canaanite gods, God's disciplinary response, the people's repentance, and God's merciful forgiveness until the next time the Israelites reach for Baal instead of Yahweh. There's the spectrum. You've got God, you've got the other one. There are places in between, but the only really safe place to be, the place where you want to be, where you get all the benefits and all the rewards, is over here with God. If you want to rebel, you want to do your own thing, you can do that, but trust me, there will be consequences. And God does not want to see anyone face those consequences, either in this life or the next one, because like I said, eternity is a very long time. So as far as how those decisions and how those branches work and when you'll feel those impacts, eternity is a long time. So the scales always get balanced. So if you think you're getting away with things, you're not. Because God knows everything you've done, and the scales get balanced out. There is forgiveness. Absolutely. You can repent. You can say, I'm sorry, I messed up, and stop doing those things. God is completely okay with that. But if not, trust me, the scales get balanced. And some things you do, you can say you're sorry for, but you still did them. So not everything can just be, wiped away cleanly. There's some things you do that there are prices to be paid. So it's action and consequence. It's no different than this life that we're in currently. The spiritual battle continued. There was a spiritual battle then. It's been here ever since, and it probably will continue for a while. I think things are going to get a lot better here, but there's a lot to clean up. So we'll see how long it takes. It took the Assyrian destruction of Israel and the Babylonian captivity of Judah to convince the Israelites that there is only one omnipotent God. That's true. Two sides of the spectrum. You've got God, Lucifer, Satan, the other one, whatever names you want to use. Right, but he was created, right? He was a powerful angel, fell down, created being. So who do you think is going to win that fight every single time? The always has been and always will be God, who created everything, or creation. So you should know how that one's going to work out. It's easy and seductive to honor possessions, fun, relationships, fame, money, and a host of other potential gods in this world. That is absolutely true. Like I said, welcome to Temptation Island. Except this one isn't a television show. This is your life that you're living right now. And you're going to be making decisions in your life and this island that we're in God's server, that are going to have impacts immediately, a little bit down the road, further down the road, and definitely further down the road in your eternity. So make good decisions, listen to God guidance, make the right call, pick the right team, and you will benefit greatly. And throughout that very, very long journey, you'll figure it out. But you don't want to keep bumping your head off the brick wall for too long, because it's very painful. And some things, depending on how bad you are, I don't know, maybe you can't come back from those things. There are certain people that have gone so far, they don't deserve another chance because of how awful they are. So, make good choices. Canaan's gods, Baal. Yeah. It's hard to know why Yahweh's people failed to see that he alone had power over these things, which is true. Asherah was honored as the fertility goddess. This will tie back into the orgy we were looking at there a second ago. She's portrayed as a nude female, sometimes pregnant, with exaggerated breasts that she holds out. Have you seen anything like that in society? Exaggerated breasts, augmentations, even without augmentations, just basically just hanging them out there 24/7. It's interesting. Apparently, as symbols of fertility, she promises her followers. She was worshipped near trees and poles called Asherah poles. So that's where they get that. And the cultic practices. Baal's worshippers appeased him by offering sacrifices, usually animals such as sheep or bulls. It's very interesting. Killing innocent animals was something that Baal's worshippers did. It's interesting. Canaanites also sacrificed pigs, and that God prohibited his people from eating pork, in part to prevent this horrible cult from being established amongst them. So, because the Canaanites did it, God prohibited his people from eating pork, in part to prevent this horrible cult from being established. And I guess maybe because they're unclean, things like that. Unclean. Look at us. It's actually not just pigs, it's all animals, because they're innocent. They don't have agency. They can't sit around and make decisions like we do. They don't have the same mental capacity. They're innocent, just like a child is innocent. They're in the vessel they're in currently. So it's really not just pigs, it's all animals. The same reason I wouldn't take my kitten and just cut its skin off and put it on a little grill here and eat it, because you would think I'm crazy. That's what you're doing to these animals that are innocent, and you're just murdering them and eating them because it's the culture. It's the same culture I grew up in, so I totally understand it. I grew up in it. I couldn't see it because I grew up in it, but now I do. And obviously there are problems here, right? I've mentioned that. There are some biblical issues that need to get corrected, so this will be the final testament, and we'll get all this sorted out. Baal's followers sacrificed their children, apparently the firstborn of the community, to gain personal prosperity. How disgusting is that? You're going to sacrifice your child, your firstborn, right, of the community to gain personal prosperity. That is disgusting. It's about the lowest thing I can think of. And I'm sure we have some cults in the United States and everywhere in the world that do crazy stuff like this. Witch covens, who knows? I don't know what kind of weird things people are into. Dark arts. The Bible has called this practice detestable. Well, obviously. Those are God's children, right? We grow up, and because of sin, we aren't the nice, cuddly God's children that we started off as in these vessels anyway. But children, like, they haven't lived long enough to be bad enough here, right? Right now. So, who knows what happened, like, as part of that eternal journey, and, where those decisions and things pop up in our lives? Only God understands that. That's too much for us to fathom. The Bible's repeated condemnation of child sacrifice shows God's hatred of it. Of course. especially among his people. Of course. Why do you think God is against abortion? Right? I mean, I just saw a movie recently, and essentially it's like it was inconvenient for them to have a child, so they just aborted the child. So you were supposed to have that child, and you aborted the child out of a convenience issue. Now, I'm sure that the reasons vary, but there is adoption out there. So there is an option. Someone would love to have your child. There are lots of couples that can't have children. They would love to have your child. So you don't need to go and have your child killed. You can literally give your child to someone. They have all kinds of services. They should have more. They should have more services. Asherah was worshipped in various ways, including through ritual sex. I bet it looked something like that if I had to guess. Just complete debauchery. Don't care about relationships. There's nothing in this picture about marriage or being with one person, sharing a family, raising children. Do you see any of that here? No. All this is going to lead to is more hookup culture, which is exactly what we have. People trying to get famous, essentially having sex on television. This is basically pornography, except for like maybe 2 or 3 ounces of clothing. That's all this is. And they did it, and these videos will be around forever, and they did it for money, and they did it for fame. They were tempted, right? As we all are. That's unfortunately one of the things that happens here. But if you don't have free will, like with free will, you get temptation. If you want a total dictatorship where everything is just dictated and you can't make any decisions, that's not what God created us for. That's not. He wanted to give us freedom, so we have free will. It doesn't mean we're free from consequence. We're given guidance. We're told how to live, just like our parents or good parents tell their children. But if they don't listen, your kids get in trouble. That's just the way it is. You can either have free will and make decisions, or you can be a complete robot and everything will be okay for eternity, but that wasn't God's wish for us. So we got free will, but with free will comes responsibility and consequence. So make good decisions. Don't end up on this show looking like this. Don't do this anywhere ever. Through ritual sex. Although she was believed to be Baal's mother, she was also his mistress. Gross. So you've got the incest angle going in there. That is nasty. Pagans practice sympathetic magic. That is, and no magic. No magic. What God does, miracles may look like magic. That is completely different than magic, which tries to draw on the power of the other one. So clearly you could see where that is problematic, right? Especially with the decisions and the consequences and how they branch out and how that's going to manifest now, in the near future, the further future, and then way down the road. So be very careful. You don't want to be in magic. They believe they could influence the gods' actions by performing the behavior they wished the gods to demonstrate. Believing the sexual union of Baal and Asherah produced fertility, the worshippers engage in immoral sex to cause the gods to join together, ensuring a good harvest. So they probably did something like that, trying to get corn to grow. It's terrible idea. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. This practice became the basis for religious prostitution, which ended up in the temples. Can you imagine that? Right? You go to your local Baptist church, you pop in to see what's going on, this is what you get. Exactly. You don't want to pop into your local non-denominational or Baptist church, non-denominational, whatever. Well, I'm sure these things will change over time, but that's what I want to see when someone walks into a church and sees this. Religious prostitution. That's not even. You see how screwed up this place is? See what we're trying to fix here? This is terrible. The priest or a male member of the community represented Baal, and the priestess or a female member of the community represented Asherah. In this way, God's incredible gift of sexuality was perverted to the most obscene public prostitution. No wonder God's anger burned against his people and their leaders. Yeah, I get it now. Let's see. So let's just say you pop into your local church.
It's gonna be a fun day.
There you go. And that's right before they pass the donation plate around, because they're trying to get corn to grow or whatever stupid thing. These people, they just want money. They want to be famous. They probably want to have sex. They're sexually aroused. They probably hardly know these people or they're actors. I don't know. I don't know them personally. Clearly they're making sinful and immoral decisions, but that's left with God upstairs. Right? Only God has enough information about our eternity to make determinations on where we end up and where we go and what happens to us. That's reserved for one entity and one entity alone. That's it. Even human representation as part of the Trinity, still limited. Human form, just like Jesus, it's just Christ. That was his first name, right? It was Christ. God in human form. Same thing, right? Christ shows up again. It's the same thing. At the end of the day, only God has all the information. That's it. The only entity. That's why God is in control. The only thing that messes it up is free will and our stupid decisions, because we don't listen. But this is what was going on in some churches, and clearly this is what's going on in society today for people to get famous and to get... They're just producing lust. It's like lust on demand. This is essentially a porno on a television that a child could walk by at a mall or Best Buy or anywhere else. And this is what we've debased ourselves to. I don't want to get too negative, sorry. Pagan religions. Pan was depicted as an ugly man with horns, legs, and ears of a goat. I actually saw over in Israel, they had, they call it, I don't know if it was like Pan's Labyrinth or Pan's Cave or whatever. They said it was like the gateway to hell. Oof, that place was dark. You could see, like on the ridge line where it looks like they had thrown people down, you could see all the carvings in the wall. Man, if those walls could talk. All the ritual sacrifices that would have happened there, that place has got to be dark. It's not a place I would like to go back to. I'm glad I went. It was surreal to see. But I guess people have said like, oh, it's Pan's Cave or something like that, and it's kind of like the gateway to hell. If you ever get to visit that place, like, it's dark. Just look up on those ridge lines and look at all the carvings in the walls, and look, they've got little placards there to kind of explain, how their gods were worshipped over the years and what they believed in, right? Sacrifices, things like that. Just use your imagination. You can imagine what happened on those ridge lines and all those little valleys and how much blood ran through those waters. Horrific. Let's see. Most stories about him refer to sexual affairs, sexual sin, because it's one of the easiest ways to trip people up. Sex, money, fame, things like that. Sins, temptations. Temptations are the easiest way. You tempt people in. You get them to sin, to walk away from God's direction. The worship practices of his followers were no different. Pan was associated with Dionysus, the Greek god of wine and orgies. I can imagine maybe they had some wine. I don't know. There's probably wine. This seems like the type of culture where you would have lots of alcohol use, lots of drug use, lots of promiscuous sex, lots of hookups. I don't know how many of these folks are going to church or even read the Bible at home. Let's say they don't go to church. Let's say they just sit at home and read the Bible and they're trying to, have a relationship with God. I don't know how many of these people do that. Even if they do, they're clearly not listening. Or I don't know. This is an absolute no. This kind of behavior will cost you. So, this is an absolute no here. Whose worshippers continued many of the sexual rites of the Old Testament gods of the Baal cult. Yep, magic and the occult. Many ancient peoples practiced magic. Magic is off the table. Because the Bible in both the Old Testament and the New Testament, it's both, and the Final Testament, is in progress, recognized the reality of the demonic world and condemned all of its practices. Correct. There is spiritual warfare going on. People of this world would like you to think that there is no supernatural. Just sit around and believe in aliens. There's nothing supernatural. There's no demons. There's no angels. There's no God. You believe that all you want. But trust me, throughout your eternal journey, you will look back and regret that. So, stay on God's team, because God's going to win anyway. And eternity is a very long time. So even if you've gotten away with something for a few years or a lot of years, or you're like, oh, this is fine, this is all there is, this is not all there is. Your soul is eternal. Your vessel is not. You know, eventually you'll progress, and you know, hopefully you'll make it home. But it's a long, long journey, and there's plenty of time for those decisions, those decision trees, if you will, to bear fruit. So just stick with God. God's going to take care of us. Jesus provided the ultimate solution to resisting the seductiveness of pagan idol worship and all kinds of worship, all kinds of sin. He showed that he alone held power over the demons. God alone holds the power. The Trinity, right? So Christ, although powerful, is not God. Doesn't have all the information that God has. Even Jesus admitted that he didn't know everything that God knows, and that's true. Only God knows that. And God can't just show up here directly. It's got to be through a human vessel. So, or a vessel, but human vessel in this instance. You know what I mean? He showed that he alone held power over the demons, sending them into the abyss, because that power was granted by God. That's how that worked. He promised his disciples that his church would overcome all evil, even the gates of Hades itself. That's true. That's absolutely true. Bring the chains down, lock some folks up. Yes, that's all possible. Though today our gods such as money, power, and possessions are less personalized than in ancient times, the temptations for us are no less enticing. Exactly. That's how Satan, Lucifer, whatever name you want to use, that's how he gets his folks. That's how he gets us to sin and walk away from God and discard God's advice. It's through temptations like money and power and fame and sex and things of that nature, and making you literally think that God doesn't exist. That's like one of the greatest things that Satan ever figured out and that we were ever dumb enough to walk into, is that God doesn't exist. But, you know, it's been like 2,000 years, so it makes sense, right? It's not like you have video of Jesus walking around performing miracles, right? If we had all that in HD and all the miracles and everything that happened was documented, and there was no way anyone could have, like, you know, jimmied those stories up a little bit or changed things or embellished or accidentally, like the telephone game, accidentally changed stories. When you take all of that out of the equation and everyone can see it, right? Like, you see it with your eyes. I think I heard, like, people believe, like, I don't know, maybe not much of all of what they hear, but they believe, like, most of what they see. Like, that's, people have to see it, you know? And when you see the miracles and you see God's power, that sticks with you. That stays with you. You don't forget it. It gets burned in, you know? And that changes the decisions you make, and then your whole life just starts to change, and then your eternity just, boom, it opens up, and it gets beautiful. And it gets beautiful forever. Forever and ever. No end. So once you start following God, everything just keeps getting better and better and better. I'm not saying it'll happen immediately. I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen in this life. But, you know, once you move on to another vessel, you go home, whatever the case may be, your life, if you follow God and God's instructions, is just going to be amazing. And if you continue to follow and keep following the instructions from the test, right, you're given the answers to, you're going to have an awesome eternity. That's all you need to worry about. Or you can go your own way. You can be rebellious. You can disregard all the information that's being given to you, and you can do whatever you want. And you can live for you, and you can be selfish, and you can worry about money and possessions and cars and jewelry and your body and your ego and your pride. You can do all that, and you can forget God. But at the end of the day, you're in a temporary vessel. So those actions that you're making are going to branch down in that decision tree into decisions that are going to go one way or the other. And those are things that are going to happen in this life, or maybe not. Maybe they happen now, a little bit down the future, way down the future. Your body's going to get old, you know, things are going to happen. But eventually, you know, you'll be out of your body anyway. So it all gets sorted out. So just walk with God. God wants to walk with you. God wants to help. That's why he comes down here and talks and, you know, sends people to talk to you. So your life will be awesome. Just listen and do it. You know, good parents want to help their kids, so listen to your parent that's trying to help you. That's it. We could do well to remember the complete powerlessness of the pagan gods from Baal Canaan's bloodthirsty fertility god to Hades, Greek god of the underworld, to prevail against the one true God. God always wins. Always. Maybe not every battle because of our stupid decisions, right? It may not look like it down here because this place is a mess, but that's because of our decisions, right? To not follow God's directions, which creates sin, which creates consequence in our life, which then creates culture and broken families and just more broken culture and stupid thinking. And then pretty soon you're living in an upside down clown world where people have forgotten about God. And that's what this place feels like currently. But it's on the upswing, so that's good. I don't want this to get too depressing. Let me jump back to this. Never mind, I'm depressed again.
Keep going, keep going.
I'm not saying I'm going to hook up culture like I've definitely done it in my lifetime. I lived just like everyone else here did. Maybe I'm not like one night stands and stuff like that. I was never like a player or anything like that. I never had those kind of skills. But yeah, you know, I've known people like maybe a week or whatever, and that happened. So I've done it. But you know what? You say I screwed up. Sorry, screwed that one up. I know better now, and I'll never do it again. And even in a long-term relationship, right? We're supposed to wait till we're married. That's why it's... You don't want to... If you start having sex ahead of marriage, what can happen is that marriage is... I don't know. You might get derailed, and you're sharing things that should be shared in a marriage. That's the way it's all designed, right? So that you'll get together and you'll stay together and you'll be that cohesive family unit to raise awesome kids with great godly values, and then you'll spread that out to the world. And when everyone does that, this place turns into paradise. So we go from sinful clown world to God's paradise, which is where we want to get to. But hookup culture, having sex on video for money and fame and pride, this is not how you do it. This type of sin will always bite you.
Oh my God.
There's nothing about this show that is holy, right? If you wouldn't go into your church and turn this on and admit that you watched this trash, it's not holy and you shouldn't be watching it. And I don't know how many viewers this kind of stuff gets, but it's probably more than like 10 or 20. It's probably millions. And this is season 6, right? Season 6, that's not a great number. But not to get too superstitious, I'm sure people watch this or they wouldn't have 6 seasons of it.
That's just embarrassing. I just think he did a lot for me even to respect him as a man again.
What do you think Great will say about things he sees that you may or may not have done?
He might feel the same way that I feel.
So what are you feeling?
How many of these people do you think fake cry on this show? I don't know. I don't know if she's fake crying. I'm just saying, like, how many people do you think fake cry? Right? They're basically lying on camera to dramatize it more, to make more money and get more people to watch. I don't know. Maybe she's crying. I don't know. See all that jewelry? All that bling? God doesn't like bling. It's too showy. It's too prideful.
Paris.
But I realize we all own the things we own, right? We spent money on them, and you don't want to go spend money on other items, so it's kind of a weeding out process. But it's a mental mind shift to live a holy life. And then as you change mentally, your purchases will change, over time, hopefully quickly, but you will start to look like a different person. Like I said, when you're a Christian, you're following the way, you won't need to tell people because they're going to see it. They're going to know it and what you're doing and your activities and how you operate and how you help people and just how you're an awesome person, right? You're a holy person. So you won't even really need to tell it. That's why you don't need any crosses or symbols or anything else, right? You just don't need it. People will know. They should know without you having to tell them. They'll just be like, oh, I've hung out with this person. No, they can tell.
Okay?
Yes.
Can I give you a hug? All right.
Honestly, if you're a guy and you're hugging any one of these girls, especially this one here with basically everything hanging out, you know that if you're a guy and your mind has been polluted by the culture of this world, it's going to be uncomfortable for you to like hug these girls probably just because of the way they're dressed. They look, you know, like people would look in like certain professions. It's way too much. You're accentuating your sexual organs. It's way too much.
All right. I know that was tough. That was a tough one.
I know my views seem radical, but you have to understand. This was kind of a rapid download and eye-opening experience for me because of the way this was all designed to play out. I'm looking at this like someone from a different planet, essentially. I'm not from a different planet. It's a different... it's different.
You're stronger than you
It's
think.
not like aliens or anything like that. That's not it.
Paris, that was a lot. Make sure you share with these girls and let them help you a little bit. And with the guys. You're going to be just fine.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. Help you a little bit. And with the guys. You're
You're going to be just fine. So, I know this place is in absolute disarray. It's basically a sin pit for a lot of folks. And you can tell, look around the world, this place is just absolutely destroyed with sin, which is why shows like this exist. But this world, God's server, is kind of like Temptation Island. And we failed miserably. And we continue to fail. But thankfully, God is... Hey, can I call you back in just 5 minutes? I'm making a video. I'm just about to finish up.
Okay, I think I got the job. Okay.
You got it? Okay, all right, give me just 5 minutes.
Okay.
So yeah, like I said, this is kind of like Temptation Island, God's server. We failed miserably. But thankfully, God is extremely forgiving, understands that our information is finite. Our lifespan is just too short. We don't understand it. So God sends representatives down to explain things to us again. And I think it's going to be a lot easier this time because we've got a lot of cool technology. So unlike last time where it's easy to pick things apart and be like, wow, that doesn't make sense. That never could have happened. Like, there's no way that could have happened. No way these miracles could happen. There will be no ambiguity this time. So everyone can see what they see. And they can make a decision based on that. But you stick with God. God sticks with us. God loves us. God created us. God wants us to make good decisions. Just like a parent, you don't let your child run around and do whatever they want. That's not freedom. That's setting them up for failure. And God doesn't want us to fail. God wants us to succeed and have an awesome eternity forever. An awesome forever, like an awesome time, like the best vacation you were ever on, that just goes on forever and never ends. So that's what you have to offer on this side. On this side, you've got pain and suffering from stupid decisions and potentially horrific scenarios. Horrific, depending on how bad you are. And some things, yes, you can ask for forgiveness, but some things, when you cross the line so far and just, you're literally on that team, can't say for sure, but I would guess that God is very rough sometimes. So that's it. We're going to be fine. Just follow God's directions, and I'll try to do the same, and we're all going to be good. We'll all be fine. But this one's running kind of long, so sorry if it was a little bit negative, but I'm just trying to be more honest. Like this gentleman said, even though it's nice to please everyone, I really only have to please one person. I want to please everyone, but I have to at least, do my job. So God loves us all, and He wants us all to be very, very happy and enjoy eternity. So, stick with Team God. But I hope you all have a fantastic Friday and a great weekend. Looks like my fiance might have gotten a job, so that's great because I'm not allowed to work apparently. I'm not going to make any money. I don't think I'm allowed to work. So we're just going to have that marriage where she's the breadwinner, and I'm just going to be that guy making YouTube videos and making no money. So it's fine with me. I don't care. She seems fine with it. So we'll make it work. Just a little bit of role reversal, no big deal. I'm fine with it. I can put my pride and my ego down. It's good. I'm good with it. This is important, I think. Hopefully someone's seeing these videos. It's not just me talking to my camera. But love you all. Have a great weekend, and we'll chat next time.